Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Anita Makori. I mainly post content about grad school applications, and today I am very excited to have a special guest. I have known her for 10 years, surprisingly.
It's already 10.
Yeah, 10 years. And it was really great to catch up and meet and find that we have this common goal of making grad school applications easier for other people than it was for us. So at this point, I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, it's lovely for you to host me. Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful cause, and more people should actually embrace this and do it. So my name is Waithera. I am a partnerships manager at an Africa-focused social impact firm called Baobab Consulting. But above that, I am a polymer scientist, currently pursuing a PhD in Polymer Chemistry from the University of CONNECTICut. And my education background, so as Anita said, we met in high school, precious blood, Kawangware.
Yes.
And from that, I proceeded to campus where I did an undergraduate in industrial chemistry. And after my undergraduate, I did not do a master's, so I proceeded to doing a direct PhD in polymer chemistry. So that's a bit about myself.
Wow. So first of all, you mentioned industrial chemistry. Maybe you can tell us what it is and what career paths one can lead once they do that.
Okay, so industrial chemistry primarily focuses on chemistry at industries. So that includes manufacturing various products, ranging from food to detergents to cosmetics, basically anything chemistry, anything chemicals that deals with industries is part of industrial chemistry, and the parts that it leads to are unlimited, if I'm being honest, because you can specialize in cosmetics chemistry, that's being the next Rihanna, inventing your own Fenty. You can also specialize in food chemistry, so including manufacturing of items like Weetabix, food, chocolates, anything. You can also focus in surface paints, dyes, all these things. But for me personally, I decided to focus on polymers, which are plastics, and basically trying to find a way of solving the plastic pollution menace that we currently face, not only in Nairobi but the world in general. So the career has endless opportunities. You can also go and study to be a chemical engineer afterwards. You can do pharmacy, like you can change into so many things. You can become a biologist afterwards, because the course has two options: the physical option that leads you to engineering, and the biological option where you can either go to drug discovery, pharmacy, or even biochem.
Wow. Okay. So maybe I should mention, fun fact, I think she's a chemistry genius from the moment I met her. So I'm just fascinated. I know this already, but I'm still fascinated. And maybe you can tell us, how did you get to where you are now? Maybe a bit of your background journey, or also a bit of her STEM journey. Her journey in STEM have been featured on a page called Words That Count. You can check that out, and I will leave a link down below so that you can see our stories that were featured on there.
Yeah.
So maybe how did you get to where you are now?
So personally, just looking back at my journey, I got into high school knowing that I'd be a neurosurgeon. Honestly, I had read Ben Carson and I was like, yo, save people's lives by operating on brain tumors and everything. But then getting into biology class, so I hated my first biology class. And physics was interesting, but I never really saw myself in a physics path. And then chemistry, unknowingly, I really enjoyed my chemistry class, and chemistry was actually very easy. It was the simplest science, honestly. Yeah, in my opinion, other than math, which was drinking. Math was easy.
Yeah.
So chemistry was also easy for me, and I understood from then onwards that I wanted to pursue a course in chemistry. So I wanted to pursue chemical engineering. CUSPS, the placing board in Kenya, placed me under industrial chemistry. I have a role model who's done industrial chemistry before me, so I understood what at least this meant, and I was like, you know what, I can still pursue industrial chemistry because I know the opportunities that this has for me, and that's how I pursued industrial chemistry. I really loved all my units. I love chemistry in general.
She does.
So when it came to choosing what I wanted to do for my PhD, I was really confused, and I was torn in between organic chemistry and polymer chemistry. But then always I've really wanted to solve the plastic pollution issue, so going to polymer was the better option for me because I'd be pursuing my career in chemistry but also solving something that's really close to heart as a social entrepreneur or as a change maker, as I like to call myself. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. And my journey with regards to Baobab, I think that comes with networking and also growing your capital, your social capital. So personally for me, how I ended up at Baobab was I joined ISEC in JQuat. So it was actually a club that I can say really catapulted or snowballed my experience into where I am today, because I got to meet people who are open-minded, people who were outgoing and wanted the best for themselves. And so after ISEC, I joined TEDx, where we're organizing talks, and that's where I actually got to meet someone who was working in Baobab, and that's how I got into Baobab. So without being outgoing and like not focusing primarily on academics only, I don't think I'd be here, and I don't think I'd actually be pursuing my PhD because most of the people who contributed to the journey are guys I actually met at Baobab. So
great. Okay, so now that you mentioned your PhD, let's head into grad school. So what inspired you to apply? You've mentioned your network and your mentors.
Yes.
So maybe you can touch a bit about that, how exactly they played a role in your grad school application, and then maybe you can mention the schools and the programs you applied to.
Yes.
Apart from Connecticut. And maybe you can do that.
So my networks and mentors really played a great role because basically everything I talk about unfortunately is about chemistry and how I want to solve the plastic pollution menace and everything. So my boss one day, we were having a one-on-one, and she was like, by the way, why don't you follow this thing through? Like, go to school and do your thing in chemistry. Like, being a Baobab doesn't mean you have to, like, we limit your goals and everything. We'll support you as like how far you want to go. And so I sat there, I actually called myself to a meeting. I was like, you know what, I can still work for Baobab, creating the social impact that I'm creating in the community, but also pursue my PhD and actually solve the problem that I want to solve. So they played a huge part in encouraging me and also showing me that you can actually do what you want while still helping out in whatever you're doing. And they were instrumental in guiding me because they've also been to grad school. Actually, one of my bosses is a Harvard alumni, so whoop to her. And she sat me down and she was like, please do your postgrad, like your grad school, because we don't want you 10 years down the line to come to us and be like, we hindered your growth and we're probably blocking the next inventor of something. So that's how I ended up applying to school. And I applied to, so for me, I'm very picky. I'm very picky.
I know. She is.
So I settled on pursuing polymer chemistry for PhD. I just googled, my top countries were the UK, Canada, because it's easier settling in Canada after you're done, in the US. And so I did a research just trying to identify the schools, the top 1 schools, like the best schools in that particular field. So in the US I found University of CONNECTICut to be the best in polymer chemistry. In Canada it was Toronto, and then in the UK it was actually Cambridge. So I ended up settling for Aberdeen, and I applied to all the schools and I got into all the schools.
Wow.
But excellence, again, striving for excellence has always been something in whatever you do, strive for excellence. If you're applying for something, do it to your very best. Like, so that even if they don't accept you, you know you gave it your all, and you don't have any regrets.
That's very
So UConn gave me, actually UConn's process was very fast.
I'm envious.
I submitted my application on January 10th, and by January, was it 21st, I had an interview, and by end month, I had my offer letter.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I want to be there when I
Yeah, if they want you, they want you.
So I accepted because Toronto took so long. Aberdeen also took so long. And I'm like, these guys are weighing their options. So I'm not their first priority. So I ended up picking UConn, and I'm excited to go to the UConn.
I like that you did your search for courses by looking at the course that you want to do, not just the name of the school, but the course that you want to do and which department will offer you the best education in that specific field. So you started your course search by looking at the rankings of the departments for the course that you want to do. So maybe you can tell us what resources did you use apart from the human resources, which was your mentors. Which other resources do you use during your application and your search and for you to get in?
Okay, so what I say is the university websites are actually very comprehensive. Take your time to go through the websites. Like everything, all the information there is to help you during your application process. They have FAQs that there's questions that you have someone else has asked them before and they've been answered. So first of all, the university websites, and then also I realized that program coordinators are actually there to help you. So one thing that really worked for me even when I was applying, the things that my mentors and mentors could not advise, I directly reached out to the program coordinator, and surprisingly she was very happy to help.
They do.
So questions about scholarship, questions about the research that's currently happening, because one thing I also realized, professors are very slow when it comes to responding to your cold emails. There's so much information, so much content on social media, YouTube, Twitter Spaces, LinkedIn, also connecting to friends who've gone through the process before. Here in Kenya, like for me, one instrumental person was Anne Waburi. She went to Cambridge, so she had an idea of how this process is like. And also Betty Kimod, she's a lead licensee of TEDx, and she also went to Edinburgh, so she also had an understanding of how this process is like. And just listening to them and also borrowing them bits and pieces was really, really key in my application. So if you have someone who's gone through the process and is willing to handhold you, do it. Because the first time I applied, I didn't do any handholding and I failed terribly, and it was expensive.
And that is why we are doing this. I forgot to mention, at this point I think I should mention, Waithera does grad school content on her Instagram. I will leave a direct link down below. Follow her page for more content if you want to do your grad school in the UK, US or Canada. This is the whole reason why we are doing this, so that you don't make the mistakes that we did.
Those mistakes are costly.
They're very costly.
Avoid.
So maybe we can talk about your actual grad school application. So what would you say was your most difficult experience? What was the most difficult part about the whole process?
Honestly, if I was to go back and do the whole process again, I'd dread about writing another personal statement, because it's the most important thing in your whole, like your grades don't matter, because everyone who's applying to that school has good grades. Let me tell you, people have good grades. People are doing social entrepreneurship and earning money
they have
at 20 years old.
They have experience.
People have built their social capital. So it's your personal statement to like set you apart from everyone else.
Because this is the people who
Yeah.
they've never met you.
Yeah.
They're meeting you on paper.
On paper.
And you have to convince them that you're worth
everything.
going there.
Yeah. Honestly, your personal statement is very key, and I think that was the most difficult part for me, because I only had one shot to like one edit shot. So my mentors and advisors are very busy people, and so I only had one shot at it. So I write my paper, give it to them, waangalie mara moja, and that's it. So I had to be very strategic. I think I wrote it in, because I started writing my personal statement immediately I was rejected during my first applications. So like, you know what, this document
Dust
needs
yourself
time.
off.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. So I started writing I think in January last year. So it's taken months to actually make sure that it's okay. And it's easier when you have someone advising you, because honestly the personal statement it's tough. It's actually tough.
Yeah. You told us about your whole application experience. You told us about the challenges you faced, the resources you used. So maybe you can tell us, how was it receiving the acceptance? What were you doing? Were you checking your emails all the time?
So one thing with UConn, so after my interviews, guys were like, we'll get back to you in a week.
Must be nice.
Well, no, that's I never slept. I used to wake up at 5 a.m., check my emails, work, check my emails. Like, you wouldn't do anything productive.
Totally relate. I waited for a month. So you can imagine I checked my emails for a month. Let's go on, yes?
So mine, a week passed, nothing.
Oh.
Rejected.
Nothing.
As in,
love letter coming.
Yeah, I actually got my email. I was making dinner that day. You know the way you checked your emails, you're like, these people are not sending it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like cooking dinner, and I'm like, you know what, Miss Kim, come and email in India. I checked and I'm like, congratulations. And I'm like, what? This is at 8 p.m. I am making dinner and I'm with people, and they're like, yo, why did you freeze?
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I just got into UConn. I'm like, but you did your interview not so long ago. And I'm like, yeah. Wow. So for me, after saying that, I got confused, because I'm like, okay, just the way you are saying, you don't know if it's real.
You don't know how to react. You don't know what to feel about
and then
it.
imposter syndrome actually comes. And I'm not even done a master's.
Yeah. Maybe it's a mistake.
Yeah, maybe it's a mistake.
Maybe they realize they made a
Later.
mistake.
And then, because UConn were very fast, so I got my email at 8 p.m. and then the next day at 8 p.m. again, I got my funding, I got everything. So I'm like, okay, this guys are serious.
Too fast.
This guys are actually serious. So yeah, it's actually very fulfilling knowing that you've succeeded, but it's also a very confusing moment.
You mentioned that the first time you applied, you had rejections.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us about your rejections and why you think you got them.
Just looking back again, I didn't have anyone to advise me. And you see the way you think you're smart and you think you can do anything. Let me tell you, being smart is not enough. Because that was me the first time. I was like, I know
smart.
people. I'm smart. Who can say no to
I'm
whatever?
smart. I'm going to graduate with a first class.
I'm outstanding. Look at the things I'm doing. I'm
Shock on your face.
I'm sorry. Huh? Please do not make that mistake. Being smart is good. Like, cheers to all the smart people out there. But you have to be outstanding. It's not enough. One other mistake that I did is that I did not have anyone to advise me on how to do it. Yes, I watched YouTube videos, but I never understood anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I
couldn't relate, because it's not Kenyans who, like, that's a gap that we actually changed. Because it's very different when a European is telling you this is what you do. It's different. The education system is different. Even Nigerians, like, at least you can relate to Nigerians kidogo. It's not entirely it. So I think that also freaked me out and stressed me out a lot. The fact that there wasn't any Kenyan content out there that I could rely on. And then people weren't as cooperative, because when I was applying my first time is when Waburi was also applying, so she also didn't know the process. So I didn't have anyone to tell me this is what you do. Like, really reject you and Cambridge and Oxford.
Oxbridge again.
Oh, now what people in na Edinburgh.
Oops.
Anyways,
3 whole applications rejected.
and then that was 3. That's the UK only.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's the UK only. I haven't gone to Cornell and do. I think also another thing is the research that these guys were doing wasn't aligned to what I wanted to do. So also ensuring that your
So just
research
the
is
name.
aligned.
We have discussed your whole grad school application journey, the challenges, the successes, and we've gotten to this point where you have your acceptance. And we're going to move on to the next very big process, but that will be in my next video. So in my next video we'll be talking about the US visa application process from Kenya with Waithera. She got her visa got approved. So she's going to tell us about the whole process so that you can also get your US visa approved. Stay tuned and remember to share this video and subscribe. Bye.